Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Finneran's Wake. I'm joined today by James Flood, the influencer by whom you've not yet been influenced, but will be in the coming weeks and months of this year, 2025. The topic of today's episode is protein powders. Recent studies have revealed that there are significant amounts of metals, specifically lead and cadmium, in some of the leading protein powders in America. This has stimulated a conversation in the fitness and wellness communities about the health benefits and detriments of protein powders. So, James, I'm going to open the floor to you. I want you to tell us, are these protein powders detrimental or are they beneficial?
Oh, you knowing me, you know my stand on protein powders, but um, I would say, I mean, anything could be detrimental to your health, like in excess. But I mean, these tests that are coming out, um, pretty much. I mean, I would say a lot of the stuff we consume, especially that's been manufactured and processed through these different processing companies and manufacturers, are exposed to heavy metals. I mean, lots of things, like everything, like toothpaste, everything. But um, in the recent study that we're talking about right now, I'd say it's not the best thing to do is to find these protein powders that are obviously been exposed to different heavy metals. There's certain amounts that they'll allow that you can have in it. The only state that I know that uh, makes manufacturers put a label on it is California. They have a Prop 65 warning that says it could cause reproduction harm or uh, cancer, and they make it on all the products that have to be sold in California that have a certain amount of lead or mercury in it. Um, that being said, I, I try to get all my protein from food. It's the best way to do it. But obviously, we're in the modern age when people are going and doing a million things at once. So we need to supplement sometimes.
So
That being
let's
said,
so let's just be clear to all the listeners and viewers
yeah,
out there. You have not been using a protein powder for how long?
probably 3.5 years, 4 years. Um,
And why did you decide to remove it from your diet?
well, okay, so I'm very much in tune with what I eat, and when I do eat something, I see how I feel, I see how my body responds um, in the coming hours after I eat it, and there I also do within the next day, the week following. Uh, from my observations and what I've always noticed, whenever I take protein powders, my digestion seems to be a little bit more sluggish, and by that I mean like just a little bit more gassy, a little bit more bloated. Just not good feeling, not the way I feel after I eat a good steak or some eggs or some
Sure, sure. And
chicken.
let me ask you, is that feeling irrespective of the type of whey, I'm assuming, protein that you're consuming, whether it be concentrate, isolate, or what is the final version? The
Casein,
the
the
hydrosylate, the
salt,
hydroxylate.
hydroxylate. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm not lactose intolerant per se, but I think it's the way that they process. Like, if a lot of companies don't cold process their whey, or they denature the protein by heating it up too much. So a lot of companies, what I look for if I was going to take protein powder is I will look for cold processing. Okay, that's key. So you don't want to denature the protein. Denature the protein, forget it. It's not, you might as well not even take it. Uh, Cold processing, um, and basically the closest you can get to the way nature intended it to be taken. So, like bone broth protein, for instance, is if I was going to take a protein powder, which okay, when I go on trips, occasionally I'll have one. You know what I'm saying? It's not what I meant by I definitely take a protein powder in 4 years is I don't consistently buy one and keep it on hand because I don't need it every day. But if I go on trips or if I go somewhere where I'm definitely not going to be hitting my protein numbers, I will consume bone broth protein and collagen protein. Those are my two go-tos. Okay, cleanest, definitely no digestive issues. I actually like the benefits for your hair, skin, and nails too. For the bone broth, it's very high in collagen too. The bone broth too. It actually helps with the digestion, helps with the gut health. So I'm really big into gut health now too, because there's just the most that you can heal your gut, the rest of the body will follow. So
I view the bone broth as one of the best sources of protein per calorie that you can consume. If you look at the nutritional profile of bone broth, off the shelf bone broth, I like to use when I'm not cooking my own at home, which I typically do. But when I take one off the shelf, it's usually that Kettle and Fire brand.
it's a
And
great brand.
yeah, for maybe a few hundred calories in the entirety of that box, you're getting a good 10 to 20 grams of protein. So I've always considered that ratio to be favorable, your calories to protein, and I think that's unbeatable. You mentioned the denaturing process, and it's an interesting topic because in the fitness and wellness community, I've seen many influencers, especially male influencers, who are taking this theory, this idea, and applying it to their meals in a somewhat more dramatic way, or dramatic in the minds of a lot of people who have been conditioned to consume meals as we have in America. So that means cooking meats less and less and less, reducing the doneness or the wellness of their steaks. So does the theory that you just outlined, that of a preference for less denatured proteins, also apply to the proteins that you're cooking, to the steaks
Yep.
that you're preparing?
Oh, definitely. You don't want to overcook anything, especially steaks. You're gonna lower the nutrient profile. You're gonna lower the digestibility of the protein, the amino acids. I mean, like the list goes on and on. I'm not saying eat it raw because I will not do that. I I have to. I'm a medium rare guy, so that's as rare as I'm gonna go. Is medium rare when it comes to steak. Um, salmon, salmon, you get a good sushi quality salmon. I'll eat that raw, but I mean, lightly seared too is great too. Um, but for the most part, yeah, like the truth goes that for vegetables too. I mean, not just protein. Vegetables, same thing. Maybe you lose all the vitamins, nutrients when you start cooking them and overcook, especially when you overcook vegetables. And you might as well just toss them out. And then but that's why juicing is so beneficial. It's just you get all that fresh vitamins and nutrients, that live food. So we're a living, you know, more organism. We need live food to help. I can go on and on about that. That's a different subject itself. But back to the whole uh, is protein powder unhealthy? Not me, not necessarily. Like I said, it's just these studies come out all the time. We can have a study of there's different companies you can look online. Consumer Labs is one. I think you have to pay for it though, but you can look and you can get a rating on all the because they'll test everything and then they'll show you the breakdown of what it says in there, what it actually has, how much of this, how much of that. But for the most part, when I look for a protein powder or if I look for any kind of supplement, I look for third party tested and I look for the results in the on the website. So they'll print it, they'll have it, they'll have access to it. You call the company. A lot of times you can call the company and they provide, if it's not on the website, they can provide it to you. Because I mean, anybody can say, oh yeah, it's third party tested and they're the third party is somebody else that they're paying. You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. So you just have to protect yourself. It's like anything. Do your due diligence. Uh, you know, research. It's your body. You only get one, so y-
If you would advise us on some alternative methods that can be implemented that would um, allow us to avoid the necessity of using a protein powder. Many people use it as a supplement
Yeah.
because they're lacking adequate intake of protein throughout the course of the day.
Mhm.
So, what do you do to achieve your daily consumption, and how would you advise others to do the same without having to be reliant on powders?
So I'm a big intermittent faster guy. Okay. I don't want to, I don't have time or energy to eat 7, 8 times a day. Like, the way they used to say, oh, you got to eat every 2 hours, your anabolic window, blah, blah, blah. No, I've done it both ways. I did do that. It's not fun. You're constantly having to plan your day around when you're going to have your next protein, whatever, your next meal, and sit down, and your whole life revolves around that. So what I do now is I do two big meals and then a snack. So usually my first meal is around 12:30. That's my lunch. It's big. So it consists of at least 60 to 75 grams of protein, animal protein, um, and about 100 to 150 grams of carbs, and 50 to 75 grams of fat. Okay, that's my lunch. Okay, if you're eating that much for lunch and that much protein, you're not going to be hungry. You're not going to be thinking about food in 3 hours. Okay, you're not going to be thinking about food for a while, and that's usually my first meal. Then I will have, if I get hungry, like before dinner, I'll have like a snack. I'll have like a Greek yogurt with some blueberries and some. I get this really good healthy granola. It's no seed oils. I can't remember the name, but there's a couple of them that you can look now. They don't have any seed oils. It's mostly just rice and a little bit of cacao nibs in there, which is amazing with the granola. So, and then I'll have my dinner, which is even bigger. I usually have like 8 to 10 ounces, sometimes 12 ounces, depending on how I'm feeling, of lean steak, grass fed, either ribeye, or sometimes, it's not lean, but sometimes I'll have filet, just depending on what I'm in the mood for. I'll have 4 to 6 poached eggs. Um, for carbs, usually 2 cups of either white jasmine rice or sweet potatoes, and then I will follow with another Greek yogurt for dessert, because I usually get hungry like a little bit after that. I know it sounds crazy, but I'll have a Greek yogurt. I get the Okios triple zero. It's a really good one. Just I put some frozen blueberries in there, and the granola. So and I mean, if you eat those, there's 20 grams of protein in each one of those little packets of Greek yogurt. I mean, so just having 2 of those a day, you're at 40 grams. Having 10 ounces of steak, I mean, that's like 65 grams of protein, so you have that twice, you're already hitting your protein numbers. I don't mean, it's one. I like to go, and I'm not crazy about this. I think that's, I think that's you can be a little crazy when it comes to protein numbers. Is 1 gram per pound of body weight. I'm flexible with that. Usually I'm under, I'm probably like one 180 most of the time. I'm about 207 right now. Pretty low body fat, but tell you what, I mean, when I was eating, I did bodybuilding competitions, did all that, and I was eating up to like 300 grams of protein, and my digestion was not good. Like, it's just, I mean, I was just gassy, bloated, like didn't look good until I was on stage. Now I try to stay like ab ready, like all the time. Like, it's just, you feel better mentally, physically, and not just for a week on stage when you're getting ready. So
Yeah. I'm sorry. Did you
it's
say ab ready? Is that
yeah,
the term?
ab. Like, you have to have abs 24/7. It's not just the week of the competition. You know, like you,
Uh,
we know you have abs too. You're running out here with your 20-mile runs and stuff. Like,
yeah, 21 this morning, and
yeah,
my
all right.
long mileage, my big mileage days are hopefully coming to an end after I run this marathon in a couple weeks. All right, so that's a good description of your diet, and hopefully based on that, people can start to um, gather some information and make some ideas about how to include more protein in their diets in a wholesome way without being reliant on the powders. Like you said, just to break down some of your food items, the Greek yogurt is an excellent source, especially when taken later in the day as a slow digesting protein, right? With which you want to build muscle overnight with the casein protein.
Yeah.
Obviously, you were talking about animal proteins, your meats. You talk about beef and predominantly eggs. Those are your two primary animal proteins, your meats. Uh, and like you said, you can simplify the process by eating only 2 meals a day with one small snack. And don't be so hard on yourself if you're not achieving that 1 gram per body weight as you described it, right? You can be somewhat flexible, coming in just maybe shy of that. You certainly don't need to go far in excess of that as you did in your bodybuilding days. So I think that's a good encapsulation of your advice to everybody listening. Just to um, kind of briefly bring this to a conclusion, maybe you can move your phone a little bit. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of echo on your end, or maybe lower the volume. Thank you. The protein powders are generally beneficial, although you need to be very careful about the way in which they are produced. Check for third-party testing signals on the websites. They should be explicitly listed. You certainly want to look for cold pressed. You want always, above all, to find products that are as little processed as is possible. That applies not only to your protein powders, but also to your food items that you're purchasing. And then when at home, also, cooking is a process of processing, right? So you're degrading and denaturing proteins while you cook. So just be mindful of that. If you normally eat things at a high level of doneness, maybe slowly try to reduce that doneness, cook for a shorter amount of time, and try to acclimate your taste buds to less doneness. I think that pretty much covers the topic for today.
Yeah, I just want to add, I'm not against protein powders. I'm not saying they're all bad, okay? Because I think they have their place, but they're called a supplement for a reason. So, like any supplement, if you are not receiving it in your normal diet, then you need to supplement with it, okay? And I gave you the guidelines to choose your protein powders more efficiently, and I think you should do that. I think you should do your research. If you cannot, like I said, eat enough protein, or if you're on the go a lot traveling, do your research. Look for bone broth, look for collagen. I like certain egg white proteins too. So, I'm not totally against whey. Like I said, it's just, you just have to find the right one. It's just something I don't want to be consuming on a daily basis based upon the way I felt after consuming it on a daily basis for most of my, lifting career.
Most of your adult life, yeah.
Yeah.
And the same can be said about myself. So, James, I think that's a perfect place to end today's brief conversation. This is a very fertile topic on which we will do some follow-up. So I really enjoyed it. If you listening and watching have any more questions on this topic, please leave them in the comments, send us messages. James has a now very active Instagram account on which he's trying to get more followers. So I will urge everybody to pay a visit to his Instagram page, to which I'll include a link in the show notes below. James, until next time, my friend, I'm going to bid you farewell and happy lifting this evening.
Yeah, thank you very much.